Hey, how are you? My name's Tammy and I'm the Unemotional Eater, and I just wanted to talk to you. People call me all the time and they're like, "What's the unemotional eater?" And what do you do that other people don't do? And so I just thought I would answer some of those questions. Um, the I deal with the emotions. That's what when somebody's is an emotional eater, it's because the food has become their safety. That's the connection that we make, that we believe somehow that food it keeps us safe because it kind of numbs out all the emotions. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling happy, sad, angry, mad, whatever, that food steps in and it changes, whether it's because it's a distraction, whether it numbs you out, whether sugars because you want to feel more excited, whatever it's because that food has a job that it's fulfilling. But the other side is then we start gaining weight and then we're not really happy about its job. And so but then we try to lose the weight and we can't lose the weight because we can't break up with the food. The food has such a stronghold that we don't know how to break up with it. And so that's kind of where the unemotional eater came to be. I'll first tell you, this is my own story, right? This isn't something that I read out of a book somewhere. This was out of me trying to figure out how to solve my own problem that this all came to be. I'm like most people. I've done diet after diet, and what I figured out is most of those diets worked, except for the crazy ones. But Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, LA Weight Loss, most of those people are trying to teach you how to eat a well-balanced meal so that you can weigh whatever it is that you want to weigh. The problem is we don't take it on as a lifestyle, and for emotional eaters, they don't know what to do. I didn't know what to do with my emotions, and so my first one was I never would get to where I really wanted to be because my emotions were louder than the wanting to lose the weight. And so, I would always lose some weight, but then it was almost like a slingshot. As far as I went this way, I would go flying that way. And maybe your experience too, I would gain the weight that I lost back and then some. And it's a protection mechanism is why the body does that, because it's so afraid that you're somehow going to take something away from it. But so, I've learned some things, and I'm going to share with you some of the stuff that I share in my program. Like, I really want people to get well. I really want people to be healed. And I first want you to know is you can be healed. Out of the wellspring of our heart is where this comes. And so if it's going to be between your head saying, hey, I really want to lose weight, and your heart going, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with my anger, or I don't know what to do with my sadness, or I don't know what to do with, this boredom or whatever this discomfort is, heart's going to win every time. It doesn't matter how big your goal is, your heart's going to win every time. And you may be able to white knuckle it out for a while, but at some point, until this heart gets resolved, your head can want to be whatever size. You can beat yourself up. You can shame yourself. You can do whatever you want to do. It is only going to last so long until you resolve the heart issue. And that's really what the unemotional eater is all about. And so, it's, we've all bought those programs, right? Because this was going to be the one. And what I finally did is I pulled from several different programs to help me resolve the problem. And again, it's a heart problem. It's really not a head problem. Because we've all told ourselves, we all know the logic of it, right? When somebody gets a diagnosis and they logically know, oh, if I would just eat properly, then I wouldn't be an insulin dependent diabetic, or, I wouldn't be in the obese realm, or, whatever that thing is. But this is a heart issue. And so again, we solve the heart problem. And then the food it truly does become a non-issue. And that is a little shocking, but I'm telling you, it's not about the weight. The weight is here as a messenger. The weight is here so that you'll do your heart work. It's the way that it's showing up in the world to invite you into your heart. You know, I come from a Christian perspective. I'll tell you, I don't need you to be Christian to work with me, but that's the perspective that I come from. You're gonna hear me quote scriptures or talk about how Jesus operated, just because that's the lens in which I look at things through, and it helps make sense in my own mind. And but that, you know, when we're in that glutton place, and really that's where we are, then we've gotten out of balance. And so what I came to understand about the food is there for the nourishment of our body. If we're doing anything outside of nourishment, then it's lost its assignment and its proper place in our life. And so, you know, one of the first things that I tell people is all foods are on. All foods are on. All those foods that you think you shouldn't eat and are taboo, all foods are on. Because the only thing that saying this is good and this is bad does is it just makes you go into an eating frenzy. And so all of a sudden when you tell yourself you can have whatever you want, I set some guidelines around it, but you can have whatever you want, and then all of a sudden your body's just not really interested in it. To the point, you know, I still have Girl Scout cookies in my freezer. Right now, this minute, there's still Girl Scout cookies in my freezer because all foods are on at my house. There's been cupcakes sitting on my counter for, I don't know, 2 weeks. I bought them for my son. I could care less. And that's a miracle, because used to we would go to the grocery store and we would buy some treat and I would have it eaten before the next day, before my son could even get back to it. And I know what it is for your child to be disappointed because you've eaten their food. And so that's one of the first things is all foods are on. The next thing that I teach people to do is only eat to a 2. And so if 10 plus 10 is Thanksgiving full, and negative 10 is, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to pass out because I'm so hungry, I tell people to eat to a positive 2. Because at a positive 2, you're satisfied, but you're not like stuffed where you're uncomfortable. But let me tell you, when you go to eat at a 2, the things that come out of your heart when you have to walk away from that plate, oh my goodness, because this is a heart issue. And so that's what I teach people, is how to deal with the heart. You know, I'm an EFT practitioner. If you don't know about EFT, it stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. The other slang term is tapping. And that became the mechanism that I use to be able to cut all the ties with all foods, to be able, as these things came out of my heart, to be able to move them out so that they no longer had strongholds on me. Because as long as the food and my belief about the food had a stronghold on me, I was not going to be able to walk in freedom. And I know most people out there want to walk in freedom. Most people, like me, were feeling like a failure. Like there's something wrong with you that you can't lose that weight and keep that off. Like it was like a moral something that was wrong. And it's not. You know, there's lots, we've been lied to so much from the diet industry that we believe all that stuff. You know, I remember back in the, 70s when, you know, the low fat came out because that was the best for heart. And it's proved to all be bogus stuff. So know that part of the deal is you've been given a bunch of lies. And so now it's about you sorting out what's true. Because what I also figured out is what's good for one person is not good for another person. And so I started listening to my body. I started watching how my body responded to certain foods. And so if my body didn't respond to it well, then I moved it out of my system to where it didn't, so I didn't have that desire for it anymore. And when I say that, like, you know, like I'm allergic to mango and asparagus. Like, who's allergic to those things? But I am, and I don't break out in hives. What I do is I just kind of get sluggish and I get kind of lethargic in my thoughts. And so it was about beginning to notice what was going on in my system. And so that's one of the things that I teach people, because when you get all the excitement out, when you get out of all the sugar and the cakes and the candies and, you know, all that stuff, then you can start paying attention to what's working for your body. Because if food is here for the nourishment of our body so that we can be of service to God and others, then we want to pay attention if something makes us sleepy or if something makes us edgy, or what is it. And so that's one of the things that I help people start to step back. The other thing that I teach people to do is how to take their thoughts captive. I didn't realize what my inner critic was doing all the time. Like, I was just wearing myself out about every little thing I did. And like, I'm telling you, like, I mean, it was almost child abuse that what I was doing to myself because of my own internal thoughts. And so I began to use, the EFT, the tapping, and some other techniques in order to take every thought captive and begin to change how I was talking to myself. It's amazing that as you start talking nicer to yourself, we all think that we're like somehow correcting ourselves, and that if we just, beat ourselves up enough, then we won't eat that cake or that cookie or whatever. That's bogus. If that was going to work, it would have already worked by now. It's not worked, so stop treating yourself that way. But so I had to use the tools and techniques to pay attention, to even realize what thoughts I was having, and then to be able to correct them to the place where you become calm and relaxed in your body. The more calm and relaxed you are in your body, then the more able you are to just eat a healthy, balanced, whatever those foods are that make you feel alive. That's really what the goal is here, is for you to feel alive. So, I just kind of wanted to give you some of those things for free, just to kind of wake you up to some new ways of looking at things. And I know they're different. That whole all foods are on, like, that is really different. Eating to a two. You hear about that, but when you actually walk that out, like, that's a very confronting thing. And then being able to utilize some of these techniques to actually cut the cords to the food. And when I say that, like, ice cream, oh my gosh, ice cream took me forever to break up with. Diet Coke, I worked on it twice, and I had like a 30-year addiction to Diet Coke. Worked on it twice and it was gone. Ice cream took me forever, because I had so many connections with it. It just took some time for me to be able to break the actual connections. But all of a sudden, when you break those connections to those binge foods, then you've got freedom to operate. You're no longer like over there just like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm not going to eat that. And what happens is you don't eat it in that moment, but the next day you like completely binge out because you're so activated by the food. So I don't know, I just wanted you to know that there's another way. I wanted you to know that there's hope. I want you to know that you're not a failure. I want you to know that you really can you can eat what you want to eat and weigh what you want to weigh. Like, it really is possible. And it's not going to be because you went on some new fad diet. It's not going to be because you just blew it out at the gym, every night working out for an hour or 2 hours. It's going to be way simpler than that. So, if you want more information about the groups that I do, I'm also starting a certification program. But, if you want some information about the group, there's a link. Just follow that. If you have questions, you're welcome to email me or just leave it in the comments below. Just know that I'm here for you, and just know that you really can be well. And just know that you're loved. Blessings.